All right, welcome everybody to our latest Live Motocross podcast. As I'm joined again by former star racer Jackson Richardson, who continues to bring the heat with his banter of late on the socials as we chat all things A1, looking ahead to the 2025 AMA Supercross season opener. Obviously, firstly, before we get cracking, we'd like to thank everyone for listening and supporting the site. We really appreciate it. We'd also like to thank our partners in 24MX, Dirt Store, Fuchs Silkaline, and Dragon Energy for all their incredible support, as without them, none of this would be possible. All right, Jats, how's life, mate? Thanks for joining us. Obviously, pretty cool since we last spoke. You're on a podcast with Steve Mathis from Pulp MX. Obviously, Jace, your mate, and Justin Hill on the Gypsy Tales podcast. We're dropping some kind words your way as well, mate. Loving the content. So, how's life? And thanks for joining us.
Mate, appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, we've taken a little bit of a hiatus over Christmas. We've been honing the craft. And we've been getting a bit of coverage lately. Obviously, with the arena cross going on, that's been an absolute heater at the moment. Those boys have just picked up the baton while the racing is on a bit of a down, and they have just been providing the goods. So no, it's been good, and then just getting G'd up for A1 next weekend. So it's all happening.
Yeah, mate, I guess a good place to start is the betting odds, mate. That's obviously a new introduction. You've been keeping a pretty close eye over this. There's obviously some people that maybe aren't completely in the know making some of these odds. There's some interesting stuff, been some juicy numbers and some dudes getting a little bit of slander their way according to the odds. So give us your take on that too, mate.
Yeah, well, it's about damn time they have put the Supercross out on the sports books. So yeah, no, it's good. I think it's going to be a good deal for the sport too, and like able to get it out there a bit more, because there's a lot of people out there that just love throwing money at sports, even if they don't know it. So yeah, no, it's cool. I was wondering if we were going to be able to do it in Australia, like when it came out. I heard about it the other day, but I just figured I might just be only for America. Like, we won't be able to do anything with it. But then Bet365 is, I believe, the only sports book that's doing the Supercross out here. So yeah, we've been right into it. I pretty much know all the odds like the back of my hand at the moment. We've been looking at it flat out, seeing all the fluctuations and whatnot. So yeah, no, it's pretty cool. So we'll be throwing a few units down on a couple of guys this weekend, I reckon.
Have you got any tips you'd like to share, mate?
Well, at the moment, like, it'll probably change closer towards the race. Like, well, 2 days ago, Jet Lawrence would have been the pick. He was coming in at $2.20, which was like awesome value for him. And like, obviously, anyone who knows Jet Lawrence and the form he's been in lately is like, that's an absolute steal. But now I feel like there's been a bunch of money being put on him, like taking advantage of that, of those good odds, and now he's at $1.62, so not as good a value, unless you're keen on dropping a couple thousand units on him. But like, especially for like these first couple, I reckon the odds are going to be all over the place because it's new to the sports books. There's going to be a lot of fluctuation and here and there, but like, there's some good value out there. Like, even Eli Tomac for $5 is like great value. Like, it is awesome. And then you go back to guys like Cooper Webb that are like, I believe he's now at $15. I believe he's coming in at, I think, which is awesome, especially for like Coop, who's like been improving, had a good showing in Oz before he got hurt, but he's like, always a contender for a win. And then you got guys like Justin Barsha, who's won A1 a few times, like won the opening round before. He's coming in at $39, which, I mean, you throw a pineapple on him and he somehow comes out with a W, like, it's going to be a good night. But one odd that just absolutely made zero sense to me was Malcolm Stewart coming in at a whopping 201 to 1. Those odds on that man are fucking outrageous. That is the steal of the century. I've already thrown 5 on him, getting 1,000 in return if he wins. Which, hey, you know what? Malcolm Stewart hasn't won a main event yet, but has come close a number of times. And from what I've seen in Paris and what I've seen leading into it, he's on an absolute heater at the moment. So he could win at any given moment. So you want to get him at 200 to 1 odds because I don't think that's going to last too often.
Yeah, mate. Obviously, Prado at 81, wasn't it? So that's a little bit harsh on Mookie, isn't it?
Oh, man. Even they've got Garrett Marchbanks in there who isn't even in the class or on the same coast, as a matter of fact. He's coming in at 100 to 1. I mean, if I'm Malcolm Stewart, I am saying that is such disrespect. I might even throw more on him, yeah, because if he sees these odds, he's going to be fucking fuming. And he's going to come out just with an absolute head of steam. So, yeah, so far out. It was crazy. But I think it'll change. Like, it's changed already in the last couple of days. Like, Jet went from 220 down to $1.62. So, like, the markets are changing once it gets closer. And then, like, once these guys do a little more research, I think, then the odds are going to get a little more consistent, like, as we go. Like, Jet will be he'll be consistently under $2, consistently. And then, like, you know, down the road. Whereas, like, you know, you got a guy like Anderson who's won the opening round before and is a awesome rider. When I first checked, he was coming in at 26. Now he's down to 19, which 19 is still an absolute steal. Like, Justin Cooper is 61, I believe. Like, these odds are crazy. Like, and especially coming into the first round, like, if we were 10 rounds in, like, it'd be different. But the first round, A1, it's always so unpredictable. I mean, we always think we know what's going to happen, but it always changes most of the time. Like, most of the time, it's a blindside. So yeah, I reckon this first round is going to be a banger. I might bet on like 10 blokes here. I might have 10 guys on the books for a win here and just hopefully one of them somehow nails it.
Yeah, because Roxon's at a pretty crazy rate too. And he's at a pretty
Roxon
crazy
was another
set of odds.
crazy one. I think he's changed, but I'm pretty sure last seen check again, he was paying $21.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was paying 21. I'm just going on now to quickly have a look. And he is
21.
21. That one might be the biggest. That one might be the biggest steal of them all. Is Ken Roxon at 21 because he's been good. He's just come off a win in Abu Dhabi, and like he's been looking good also. And like he's won A1 before, so he's been there, done that. That could be the steal of the weekend. Actually, if I'm going to make any pick, that's probably going to be the pick I make the most. I think Jet Lawrence is going to win. But if I'm picking anyone outside of that, I'm going to put my money on Ken Roxon.
I like it, mate. Some of these odds will be tumbling after your sort of previews and predictions here, mate. It's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I'll be putting a post up in a bit. I'll be going through it. I'm going to put my picks in. I'm even going to have to wait and see because I'm pretty sure there's more markets that are coming out that haven't come in yet. Like, I'm pretty sure there was like top 5, top 3, stuff like that. Right now, there's only basically the outright winner and some head-to-head markets. So my wait and see when all the markets come out. And then I'll probably be putting my picks in every week, giving everyone the heads up and try to make everyone just absolutely as rich as possible.
That's the aim, mate. Make it a regular segment. It should be good stuff to keep a track of anyway. But I guess talking about the actual race itself, I guess before we talk on all the heavy hitters, tell us a little bit about some of your A1 memories or season opener memories from your time in America, mate, because you had a pretty eventful time over there for sure, mate. So tell us a little bit about anything that sticks out.
Oh, man. Easily my best A1 memory was 2012 when I was 17. And it was my first A1, like, racing in it. And I was 17, like, done a bit of Supercross, but by that point, but not a crazy amount. And I came into it and, like, I was so young and naive at the time. And, like, I think I qualified, like, 26 or something. Like, made the night show, which I wasn't thinking about it at the time, but I was like, far out. That was actually big at that point in time. And then then we had the heat race. I got an unreal start and just ran up, just stayed in about fifth, sixth the whole time. Ended up sixth, made the main, which was absolutely outrageous to think of nowadays. Like I went in there thinking like I was just dumb because I was just thinking, oh well, I'm just gonna make the main. Like it's as simple as that. And like that year, it was crazy. Like the field was so stacked. I think I was like one of three. I think I was one of 3 or 4 privateers that made the main. Like the field was stacked that year. Like it was crazy. Like Tomac was in there on Geico. Dean Wilson was in there. Rat Ray was in there. Cole Sealy, who won that night in the end, he was in there. And then so I made the main, and I was like, man, that was fucking crazy. And actually, it was funny that night because my dad didn't say much during the day. He says to me at the end of the night, he's like, "Fuck, I was just hoping you were gonna make the night show." Like that was it. I wasn't expecting you to make the main. Jesus. But yeah, it was crazy. And then that main started. That's when I realized how unfit I was at that point in time. I got arm pumped maybe 4 or 5 laps into that main, and I just had the tongue in the sprocket from there on. Like these guys were going so fucking fast. I was like, holy shit, this is outrageous. What is going on here? And then, yeah, I think I ended up 18th. And then I was just like, oh, man, that was crazy. So that was an awesome memory. Like, yeah, that was a crazy one. And like just the hype around it. Because I've been there as a racer. I've been there as a spectator. There's nothing like it. Just because it's so unpredictable leading into it. And there's all the hype from the off season. Like, there's just nothing like it.
Oh, mate, that's such a cool story. It's awesome, mate. Definitely would have opened a few eyes, I reckon.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, I got on a few people's radar after that one. It was crazy. And then unfortunately the next week I hurt my shoulder. Had to get a shoulder reconstruction after that. So then my season was done after that. So I went from like an ultimate high straight back down to earth. So it was a bummer after that, but that night, holy, I don't think I had a wink of sleep that night after it. I was just that G'd up.
Nah, it's so cool, mate. And I guess moving on to the weekend's A1, that 450 class we'll start with. It's got amazing depth and quality all through it, mate, littered with stars. It's going to be so good. Obviously, we'll start with the Lawrence brothers, I guess, first, mate. That's the key sort of talking point. Obviously, a lot of eyes will be on Jet, but also Hunter after his really excellent year, especially in SMX and motocross. Not so much Supercross, but he built some nice momentum towards the end and in the nations and all that. But obviously in Paris, there was a lot of chat about the bike not being comfortable on that new one and just sort of riding around a few issues there. And obviously Jet can sort of do that because he's just a phenom. But, Hunters was sort of more methodical and wants to sort of really get to the bottom of any issue they have. And, they got the team there, Dazzy, Lars, all the mechanics are absolute sort of geniuses. So I'm sure coming into A1, they'll be in a good shape, mate. But I guess, what do you be looking at from the Lawrence brothers, mate, with the Aussies? And it's going to be pretty hard to obviously go against Jet, just from what you're saying on the betting preview as well, mate. And he's just such an absolute freak. And even on a bad night, he can still win. He's just that good. But yeah, it's going to be good to see those boys battle it out and to see how they go. And I reckon Hunter will have a little chip wanting to get the upper hand, won't he?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't think it's going to be a runaway like from what people are saying. Like I think there's always a chance for an upset, especially at A1. Like I mean, like yeah, right now I'm definitely like I would put money on Jet to come away with this one. But I mean, man, the feel's good. I mean, Tomac's healthy now. I mean, last year, he was coming back off the Achilles, like struggled a little bit, like to get going. And then from what I've seen from him over the 3 WSX races, he looks almost like he's back to his old ways. So, like, Tomac's going to be awesome. Hunter will be good. I reckon they'll have done a bit of work and figured that bike out a little bit for him. I mean, Jet's able to seem to deal with like an ill handling bike a little bit better. Hunter, it seems like things have got to be more precise, like and on point for him to do well, which I feel like they definitely would have taken a step in the right direction from like Paris to Melbourne and then like all this time in between. I think they would have dialed things in a bit more. I mean, that team's phenomenal. So I'm sure they would have figured that out by now. And then also Coop. Like Coop's been looking good as well, like winning Paris, and then was having a good run down in Melbourne there, and then unfortunately went down, took a bit of a digger, and then I mean, from what I'm hearing, he's fine after that, so like he'll be at 100%. But yeah, you know, then there's like, dude, guys like Roxon and like Jason Anderson as well, who I feel like Jason Anderson, especially, like no one's talking about. And like this guy's like a multi-time race winner and he's a former champion. So, and I think he's still got gas in the tank too. So yeah, you just never know it. You just never know at the first round. It's always so unpredictable. Everyone's starting from zero. So like it's just an even playing field, and like everyone is thinking the same thing as I've got a chance. Like at round one, everyone's got a chance. So yeah, it just depends on how things start off with, and who gets the ball rolling.
Yeah, mate, they've all been putting in the work, training super hard in the off season to get ready for this moment. And I guess a lot of it comes down to that mindset, how everyone handles the nerves, the weight of expectation, the pressure, all that stuff. And it'll be really cool to see how the fans react and receive the Lawrence brothers. Obviously, there was that whole Deegan debacle, and there's been a little bit of a growing trend of a little bit more hate towards them. And they mentioned it at those Feld media days, how they're sort of, Jet especially wants to embrace the hate and sort of prove people wrong, and using words like sort of destroy the competition and stuff. So that'll be a really cool aspect to follow as well, won't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, it'll be interesting. Yeah, because I watched the preview show, and Jed, he did have a couple of choice words in there, and I was thinking, oh, I mean, well, one thing, that's just confidence. Like, and when you're doing as well as him, like, I don't blame him for feeling that confident. Yeah, and like confidence is everything. Confidence is such a major key in being successful in this sport. So yeah, I mean the run he's on at the moment is unreal, and like yeah, it's going to be tough to knock on. Actually, a guy I didn't mention before, who definitely I've watched footage of him lately and like been keeping up to date on what he's doing is Chase Sexton. Chase Sexton, also a guy that can come out swinging. It's going to be tough. It always seems to me like whenever Jet Lawrence is out there with him, I just don't know if we see him at his absolute peak. But then it seems like, I mean, we see it with outdoors. As soon as Jet Lawrence is out of the picture with an injury, Chase Sexton becomes the fastest rider on the planet and can beat anyone, anywhere, anytime. So somehow I don't understand it. If he gets over that hump, I think he's got a real chance of taking Jet down head to head. And like from what I've seen, I've been keeping an eye on his vlogs and that, and like, man, the guy's looking good, and the guy's in like obviously in unreal condition. So he's just going to be in there for the long haul. So yeah, and if he irons out those mistakes like he's had in the previous years, with the tip overs and that sort of thing, if all that's gone, like he's going to be a real threat to him as well. But yeah, and then like especially with the other guys coming in like to the season, like I feel like, especially like in the later years, like I feel like a couple of years ago, everyone said the same thing. Bike felt unreal. I'm in the best shape of my life. And like that was the consensus from everyone. Now I feel like it's a little more transparent. Like you hear guys not happy with their bikes and this and like that sort of thing. So like, it's pretty like, I like it. Like I definitely like it because it creates a little more drama. Some guys are like foxing it a bit where it's like, you know what, I'm not feeling that flash, but deep down I've actually been tearing it up at the track. So I'm keeping a real low profile. Like, yeah. So yeah, it's a little bit different now than what it was a couple of years ago. Because a couple of years ago, I just remember everyone it was the fittest they've ever been. The bike was the best it's ever been, like across the board, everyone. But yeah, now everyone's got a different thing going on, which is pretty funny, and but it's cool to see.
Yeah, there's a lot more sort of focus on all that kind of stuff, and then who's
Yeah.
training where, which training facility someone else is moving to, and what program they're all doing. So, like, quite a lot of knowledge of everyone's stuff and what's going on and where they are in their development. Obviously, those field media days where the media gets to ask all those questions to pretty much every rider, a month or so out from the opener. That sort of adds to it as well, mate. Gives some good storylines to follow. And I guess good points you made on Sexton there, mate. He should be coming from a much better base compared to last year. Obviously, he had those major issues with the bike in Supercross. Year two on the KTM, he's the outdoor champ. He obviously gets a lot of hate. He gets a lot of unjustified hate. I guess him and Hunter Lawrence seem to get a lot, which doesn't really seem warranted in many ways. But yeah, the pace is absolutely amazing. He has the fitness. He's putting in the work. And how does the KTM stuff going on in the background affect their riders? Because that's not good from all reports. Obviously, it's much documented. But yeah,
Yeah.
confident chase is certainly a dangerous chase. And if he can get those starts, mate, he's ready to battle Jet and push those limits and give him a real run for his money. So I guess if he can sort of be comfortable with everything around him, including the bike, and he's not in his head with that stuff, he'll be an absolute force, won't he?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, he can go on a tear at any moment. And like, yeah, year two on the KDM will obviously be a big factor. They ironed out a few of the issues during the year last year. I mean, he was pretty vocal about how he felt like with the bike. So yeah, it seems like they've got a few things figured out there. And like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure the financial difficulties is probably not helping the situation that much for all involved, like team and rider. But yeah, but like he's like super talented. He can obviously put that aside and then just focus on the job at hand. And like I'm expecting him to be a big threat to Jet this year because yeah, like the guy's like he puts in the work and like he's done it before. He's won the championship before. I'm sure he doesn't want to be known as Jet Lawrence's whipping boy. So I see him just coming out with an absolute head of steam this year.
Yeah, mate. Another one that's always good to watch is obviously Cooper Webb. He's kind of the master at making life uncomfortable for his adversaries, isn't he, mate? People must just hate racing him. He's always sort of, if he's not applying the pressure, he's creating that perceived pressure and he gets in people's heads and he loves the mind games. And he's got incredible speed, talent, everything as well, mate. He can defend when he needs to. He's a very versatile, adaptable rider, so it just makes him such a huge weapon. And he's one of those guys that no one probably enjoys racing against, but you have to beat Cooper Webb to win the title, mate. And he's always there. You look at over the years, if people count him out, and he's always there come the end, even like last year, mate. So he's definitely one, and he just loves making life difficult, doesn't he?
Oh man, big time. He would have to be the rider who's I reckon is probably the craftiest in the field. Like, in terms of the mental game, the way he races, like the way he rides isn't spectacular. Like you don't watch Cooper Webb ride and go, "Holy shit, did you see that?" But man, he's just so smooth that like the way the way he navigates the track is like crazy. Especially like the one thing about him I see, especially like when you get to the East Coast, like he's able to find like traction in places where like you just wouldn't think like you could get traction anyway. And he like goes to the bottoms of the corners, which you think like far out that looks so slow. But you look at the lap times, he's mowing guys down, and it's crazy. And then once he gets that confidence going, like if he gets a win or two, like they always say, like Daytona's like where the championship starts. If Cooper Webb has at least one or two wins by the time Daytona comes around, like it's going to be tough to beat him because he just always seems to be there. Like, I mean, he willed his way back into the hunt last year, like when he was down by a bit, and then Jet had a couple of bad races, and he was able to correct it in the end. But Cooper was coming, and then like he got into. I was actually worried for Jet because I was like, far out. Cooper Webb is not a guy you want to have on your tail at the end of a season at a championship hunt because you just know the guy's going to be there, and the guy is just not going to quit whatsoever. So yeah, Cooper is definitely going to be on fire this year, and like another year on the Yamaha will help too they'll have figured a few things out with that. So yeah, I'm expecting big things out of him as well.
Yeah, and as we sort of move down the list, we've touched on Anderson, obviously contract year, and he really wants to stay in the game and stay at that high level and probably stay at Cowie too. He's got a good relationship there, and obviously it's been, over 2 years since his last win, so it'll be really cool to see how he goes. And obviously having Prado as a teammate will give him a nice little boost and foster some good competitive spirit. Obviously they've been working together. And Jason likes having those riding partners, someone to chase and compare. And, he's had that spell out at Club MX and he's been putting in the work with Prado. And it'd be interesting to see how Prado goes. What do you think's a reasonable expectation for him as a top 15? Because it's going to be no mean feat to get in that top 10, but he's really confident, he's skillful, he's got all the technique. And if he can get those starts, mate, like he has been in the GPs in his whole career, he should be pretty solid. So I guess the aim just to keep building and learning the Supercross in the race conditions, because that's a totally different beast, mate. But I reckon anything around that top 10 would be a pretty decent place to start for him because there's just career veterans everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. I could see it as well. I reckon probably a realistic one for him. I reckon a 9 to 12 would probably be where I'd put him. I mean, yeah, he's had a bit of time on the Cowie now. Especially coming into a first full season, there's going to be nerves and stuff there because last year there was the nerves. There would have been nerves for sure, but he was only doing three. Oh, he ended up doing 4 rounds, but yeah, doing 4 rounds. So you think your mindset's completely different because you're okay, I've got nothing to lose here. I'm just here for a bit of fun. Once you're in there for a full season, things change a little bit. But his style, I reckon, out of all most of the Euro guys that have come over, I reckon his style more leans towards Supercross, just with the way he rides and everything like that. So yeah, I reckon he could, he could be a top 5. He could definitely be a top 5 guy at the end of the season, not just with speed, but this guy can start too, which is obviously in Supercross, that's a huge advantage. So if he's able to get starts and just be in the top 5 from the start of the race, those results are going to come because he's got the speed to do it. I think it'll take time. I reckon it's going to take, I'm going to say at least 6-8 rounds before he really gets his feet under him. Because then he's got to he's been riding out at California a bit. The tracks are hard packed out there for the most part. Then you go east where the tracks get rutted, so then that's a different kettle of fish. He'll probably do good at Daytona, being closer to a motocross setting. But yeah, it's all about, and we see it with most of the Euro guys when they come over here. They do show flashes of brilliance, and then they struggle, but for the most part they struggle. And I mean, he could be different. I mean, we've seen it with Vial when he first came over here. I mean, he struggled a fair bit his first year, and then he ends up winning the championship the second year once he figures it out a bit. So yeah, and he's jumping straight into the 450 class too, which is actually, I'm trying to think of the last MXGP or European rider that came over and just went straight into 450. I don't think that's happened for a long time.
Yeah, it's a big step, mate. Deserves a lot of credit for just stepping straight in there and sort of backing himself because, yeah, you look down the list and I'll get your take on some of these other guys, mate. But getting in that top 10, you got Plessinger, Barsha, Roxon, Mookie, Justin Cooper. Christian Craig won't be racing, but Ferrandis, Nickel, Hill, Benny Bloss is an absolute weapon. He'll put it in the top 10 for sure. Oldenburg and even Savachi, I reckon he could be a sneaky top 10 too, mate.
Oh,
He's been immense on the World Supercross and Aussie Supercross.
He's not even on the odds.
Yeah, not even on there. And Prado, it's probably unrealistic to expect him to beat him, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Savachi, another guy, been on an absolute tear. Been given Roxon and Tomac a run in the WSX, giving them all they could handle. I didn't even think about him. He'll be far out. There is just so many guys that I just haven't even thought of. Yeah, a guy like Benny Bloss, great rider. He can be in the top 10 for sure. He's done it before. So yeah, it's gonna be crazy. There's a lot of guys in there, a lot of guys with Supercross experience. So Parado's gonna have his work cut out for him for at least the first few rounds. I think a solid plan for him is like just be around that 9 to 12. Like obviously they're gonna want to expect better, but I think a solid plan for him is like, hey, just be in that 9 to 12, bring it home every time, like keep it off the ground for a start. That's always the best way to do it. And then just chip away from there because I mean it is a long brutal season, and like just getting out there and like getting the laps in, like that's just going to be the biggest thing for him. But yeah, I think he'll pick it up. Like I reckon around the Daytona mark, he'll have found his feet a bit.
Yeah, it's going to be good to see how he goes, mate. Obviously, bring a lot of fans and a lot more of that sort of Spanish-speaking audience. They have the broadcast, and they've announced the French-speaking broadcast too. So it just all elevates the series and the interest, mate. And I guess onto the 250 class, mate.
Yeah,
Obviously, Hayden Deegan's the show. He's the man everyone will have the eyes on. But obviously, Kitchen's sort of been cultivating a little bit of beef with him too, which will be good to follow. And then add guys like Marchbanks in the mix and obviously Shimoda. He'll be
yeah,
really looking to have an exceptional season, mate, because he's always got the speed and the skill. He just sort of can't put it together earlier in the season like he knows he can. But yeah, Faulkner, I reckon you can't write off him. He's obviously had a hell of a year. Had that brain surgery, had that massive crash, but he's an amazing Supercross rider. And Jordan Smith too on the Triumph. And I think Juju, he's got all the confidence in the world on the KTM, mate. He's got super good speed. Came on really well in SMX, and the field's pretty stacked there too, mate. So the 250, full of factory riders, full of unpredictable racing, some probably questionable decision making will be going on with those younger guys, mate. So it'll be pretty fascinating, won't it?
oh dude, yeah, it's gonna be wild because I went through that list and oh, it's gonna be a stacked field too. And then I feel like especially there's been more like drama leading into it, like with the whole Deegan Kitchen thing, and then you got Deegan, and then someone brought it up the other day. I completely forgot about this. Was Deegan and Smith when they were teammates, and they had that run in, and now they're going to be competing against each other on a different team, like different teams now. And so it's gonna be good to see. And then Faulkner's back as well after that nasty one that he had last year. And from what I've seen, he's been looking good too on the Triumph. Seems to be happy with the bike, so I'm expecting big things out of him too. And then Joe Shimoda, like he had a horrendous start to the series last year. Like he just set himself like way too far back at the start of the season, just with bad starts mostly. Like just bad starts, getting caught up in like carnage in the first couple of laps. So hopefully he's ironed a few issues out there because Joe's got the speed to be a title contender, like absolutely. He probably needs to be a little more aggressive as well, especially when you're going up against Danger Boy. You're gonna have to absolutely throw some elbows in there if you're gonna take him down, especially with the confidence that he's got at the moment. Well, you want to talk about a guy that's oozing confidence, it's that guy. So you need to take him down a peg or two so he knows he's not going to have it all his own way. And then Julian Beaumare's in there as well. And like he's looking good. He made a big jump from the start of the season to like the 3 playoff races where like he had a couple of good runs in there. So like another like after a full season, and then he's got Davey Millsaps in his corner who's got a ton of experience and has been especially in Supercross, an unreal rider. So he's got him helping him out. And then also a bit of a sleeper, I'm going to say, that could make some noise is Cody Schock. Cody Schock is a guy I am looking at to be a bit of a spoiler because from what I've seen in the WSX, like that kid can rip. Like even last year, I think he won a heat race like at one of the rounds, and then he was around the top 5 consistently. So I'm looking for big things out of him, especially like after like what he was able to do in WSX. I think he's gonna take a bit more confidence from that, and then he's going to put the hammer down in the West Coast series. So I'm excited. And like I'm sure I'm forgetting about some guys, but man, it's going to be a stacked field. Like, I'm excited for this one, definitely.
Yeah, mate, it's going to be excellent. Obviously, Brad West, the Aussie on that Bar X Yamaha team, will be pretty cool to see. And Cole Davies, the Kiwi, obviously is making just
Oh,
such great strides that he's been put in the West, mate. It must be sort of a testament to how good he's going for the Star Boys to give him a chance. Obviously, Futures was probably initially the plan because he won that last year,
yeah.
didn't he? But the progress must just be phenomenal that he's just in with the big boys straight up, mate. So good on him.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what actually, because someone asked me about him the other day, and I said, I'm pretty sure he's in the futures. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what he's doing this year, as far as I know. And then it was like the next day they announced like he was going to be racing West, and I was like, holy smokes, like that is unreal. So yeah, I'm keen to see him in the mix. I've been seeing footage of him as well, and he's been looking real good. So yeah, I'm excited, especially seeing like the Aussies and the Kiwis out there over there getting in amongst it. Like yeah, it's awesome to see. So I'm hoping the best for him, and yeah, hopefully he has a solid rookie season. Yeah, good on him.
Yeah, mate, awesome. Before we let you go, get some picks and predictions. It's hard to go past, obviously, Jet Lawrence and Hayden
Yeah.
Deegan. But yeah, any final thoughts you have, mate? And you'll be bringing the content in the lead up and during and after the races, won't you?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I will be. I mean, look, my picks will be boring. Well, are we going just race winners, or are we going? Are we
Oh,
going
whatever you
podium?
like.
We'll go. Yeah, we'll go podium. I'll do a podium prediction in both classes, and actually, I'll write these down because I'll keep a tally on how good I'm going throughout the season. So 450, I'm going to go. I'll probably go Jet one, Sexton second, and then I'll probably go. I'm going to go with Kenny for third. Kenny for third on that one, I reckon. And then 250, I'll go Deegan. I'm going to go Faulkner second. I think he'll like Deegan's going to come out red hot. Faulkner, I think, will pick up where he left off, barring the incident, because he was looking good before then. And then I think he's like new change of scenery with Triumph. I think it'll be a good thing for him. And then my P3, I'm gonna go Juju Bowman. I reckon Juju gets on the box with like second full season, figured out Supercross a little more, another big off season with Millsaps. I think he gets on the box too. Because I think that'll be it. That'll be my picks.
Sounds good. Thought you might have gone Mookie at 201 to 1 there.
Oh yeah, well I'm a realist, but the gambler in me is hoping for a Malcolm Stewart win, big time.
Nah, it's awesome, mate.
If Malcolm Stewart wins, I may take the week off work.
Yeah, I can't blame you, mate. He's got a good chance. Definitely better odds than they're suggesting, but it's going to be a
Oh,
cracking weekend of racing, mate.
absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, no, it's all good, mate. But definitely thanks for taking the time to join us again, mate. We'll keep these going during the Supercross because it's always good value and the fans enjoy having a laugh, mate. Your coverage is really cool. And before we let you go, mate, we'd like to thank the sponsors in 24MX, Dirt Store, Fuchs Silkaline, and Dragon Energy for all their support, as without them, none of this would be possible. All right, cheers again, Richo, mate. All the best and enjoy the racing.
Hey, will do, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you.
No worries, mate. Have a good one.